866. Second paragraph, 866, second paragraph. Hayira al shnei ponim. Yira is reverence or fear. It could manifest itself one of two ways. Echad mehem yiras onshov nisyono. You're fearful of the punishment. Why don't you do the wrong thing? You're concerned about the consequence. Vinisyono. What's nisyono? Unsure, I understand. What's nisyono? V'zeu hayori bavur mash yitzarei v'yidakeu. The person is fearful because what will cause him pain and what will disrupt him. Yidakeu means which will incapacitate him. Shemeyu betuach mash yitzarbo. He says, if he was betuach mash yitzarbo, he says if he was immune to suffering, lo yori es Hashem, he wouldn't be fearful of Hashem. Even though what it says, betuach mash yitzarbo, meaning he could deal with the pain. He's batuach, I could deal with that. So I think the Yiras Anshav Nisyona meant that sometimes you don't know to what degree the pain will be. I don't know if I could tolerate it. You know, whenever you do something, is it worth it? Right? That's the mission of Pirkei Avos. Before you do the wrong thing, you have to think for a moment, is it really worth it? The moment pleasure, ultimately the price you're going to have to pay, is it worth it? And that will actually cause a person to act responsibly. So if a person is afraid of the punishment, vinisyono, it's what it's going to do to him. That's why he doesn't do it. But a person's batuach mimashi yitzarbo, everything has a degree of pain. But you know something? It's worth the pain. But like the people, they park and they figure it out. You know something? Parking and get a ticket. It's as long as it's a no-tow zone, it's cheaper than putting it in a garage. They made a cheshbon. You know, you have to pay if you go to a garage. You know something? Parking on the street, you're in a no-tow zone, you're better off. And that's the way it is. So you have to pay, right? Or you may have to go elsewhere. You know, parking it a half a mile away and walking, it's worth it to pay whatever you have to pay, even though you're paying the summons. Doesn't make a difference. So if a person would know that he'd be able to deal with it, so he'll make an evaluation. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? But since the person doesn't know to what degree he will be pained, that's the reason why he doesn't do the wrong thing. Maybe we have to take into consideration, maybe he's only doing the act out of fear. And therefore he's falling short of a person who's truly one who fears God, because fearing God is not yiras ha'onish. We're talking about reverence. It's not because you're afraid you're going to be punished. The yirei Elokim. What? Be afraid of what? You're going to be punished? What time? The average Jew who was an observant Jew, why did he do the wrong thing? He's afraid he'd be punished. I mean, the Rambam says that in the Shmona Parakim, this level is for women and children. You know? That the reason why they don't do the wrong thing, they do everything right because they're always afraid they're going to be punished. What? Yeah, 100%. Don't serve the master for the sake of reward, but that means in the positive, but it means negative also. Don't do the right thing because that's not the way to serve the master. You know, a person, the employer believes he's a dedicated employee. He says, you know something? If I would know that my livelihood wouldn't be in jeopardy, I wouldn't act responsibly in my position. That's what he tells the employer. So what does the employer think? What kind of employee do I have? What kind of company am I running over here? So you have to show some degree of dedication. That's dedication. You're dedicated to yourself. You're not dedicated to me. If you can get away with it, you can get away with it. You know, this is what we say. So what's the value? Right? That's because a person conditions himself sufficiently to do the right thing. When you do the right thing, ultimately there's a chance you may see its value if you condition sufficiently. See, most people in life, you make it's a one-time decision, and the rest of your life you're on automatic pilot. I'll give you an example. I used to give the example. One time, a person chose to be a used car salesman. To be a used car salesman, automatically entering into an area, you have to lie, you have to mislead, and you have to victimize people. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed as a used car salesman. We're not talking pre-owned, used car. Okay? So as a result of that, if a person goes into this profession, he's made a decision. This is what I'm going to be. Now when he engages in selling used cars, he's not drawing on his power of choice anymore. He's made the choice. I've made the choice. This is what I'm going to be. I'm going to lie. Whatever way he justifies it and rationalizes. It's not continuously you're choosing to do the wrong, the right. You've already chosen. You made the choice. This is what I do. This is my profession. When it comes to Lashon Hara, a person knows it's wrong initially, and a person says, I don't think it's that terrible. So now, whenever he speaks Lashon Hara, does it ever enter his mind that he's doing the wrong thing? Doesn't even think about it. So it's a one-time decision. You know something? I speak my mind. I don't think there's anything wrong with speaking my mind. Okay, so you speak your mind. So is there ever a struggle? Do I speak my mind? Don't I speak my mind? You speak whatever you want to say. So it's a one-time decision. That's all it is. So to be able to be fearful of sin, it has great value. Every time you go and you do an action, wrong or right, you're continuously making a decision. Should I do, should I not? So as a result of that, you're going to rein in on yourself. Most people do not use their power of choice. You don't exercise your power of choice, most people. Which restaurant am I going to go to? Which tie am I going to put on today? Which suit am I going to wear? That's it. But in most areas of your life, you're not exercising your power of choice.
You hit 10,000 statements a day. Most of the time, you never challenge those statements, which you really should.
Or just block them out.
Either block them out or you passively accept them.
Right? I mean, does a person have a discerning ear outside of his profession? Outside of you don't have a discerning ear. You listen. You read, you listen, you look, and that's it. You do what you always do. So I'm saying, in most areas of our life, what differentiates between an animal and a human being? The power of choice. An animal functions within his, right? Everything is instinctive. A human being is supposed to act not instinctively. We're supposed to act based on making choices. But yet, the differentiating feature, characteristic, we don't actually draw on that to behave as we should behave. It's all reflexive, most of our function, other than, as I said, what we do within our professions, unless it's a profession which you can act reflexively. You don't have to think much about it. It's a fact, but it's a failing. It's not it's a failing on most humanity. Here, God endows you with a power of choice to give your actions exceptional value, because if you choose, and yet we don't draw on that. It's a fact. Yeah.
He would say, the way he explains it, is that the faculty of freedom of choice only occurs at the battlefront.
But the battlefront is continuous.
Yes, only at the battlefront.
But what's the battlefront?
Not in conquered territory.
The moment you open your mouth, you're on the battlefront. The moment you start speaking, you're on the battlefront, because you can speak a lot of things. You can speak about the many subject matters you can discuss. You can discuss people. And what do you say about people?
Well, let's suppose a person is conditioning himself not to do this.
No, so good, but that's just something else. That's positive.
No,
But a person is not conditioned.
no, but that person is not exercising freedom of
He did
choice.
it. He did. He did. There, he
At
made
one
it.
point
He made a choice, but it doesn't make. But if a person is conditioned sufficiently, first, the Chofetz Chaim shows that when it comes to lashon hara, you have to have an ongoing cognizance. Otherwise, ultimately, you're going to slip. There's no such thing as you're conditioned, because there's so many nuances and these that unless you're conscious of what you're saying, ultimately you're going to say the wrong thing. And he permitted to say you may say too much, or may not be understood, or maybe voice intonation. I mean, there's so many elements and aspects which determine what exactly what you say is permitted and not permitted.
The same is true on the laws of Shabbos. People condition themselves to observe.
Not the same thing. Shabbos is easier. Shabbos is easier, much easier.
The person just says, well,
You have a housekeeper.
I'm not going to do X, Y, and
No,
Z.
that's Shabbos is easy. That's easy to do. Shabbos is easy to do. You train a housekeeper how to keep a kosher kitchen. The housekeeper, once they're trained, they always do it right, exactly right. That's easy, because that's just purely a functioning or action. But it's something which always continuously has to be evaluated on a continuous basis in those areas. Unless you're really continuously conscious of what you're doing, you fail. I mean, a person drives. Could you take your eyes off the road? I've been driving this road forever. There's a certain level of attentiveness you need, otherwise you're going to be in an accident, right? Because there's always changes. Something be in your way, or whatever it may be. You may not see something. Let's say a person does a mitzvah, he's not even aware he's doing the mitzvah. Not even, mitzvah, you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah. Mitzvah is one, you're aware you're doing the mitzvah, but you didn't think exactly why you're doing the mitzvah. That's mitzvah kavana. But if a person's totally out of touch, he doesn't even realize he's doing the mitzvah, it's nothing. Has no value whatsoever.
So the soldier dies, the Jewish soldier dies in the battlefield, he has no idea that he's dying off being Hashem. He doesn't get the reward for that.
Person's a United States Army. He's a Jew, and he's killed by the enemy. What does he get? What reward does he get for being killed? He's a Jew who was killed. He wasn't killed as a Jew. He was killed. He was killed on the battlefront because he was an American. He was the enemy. He was an American soldier. That's something. There he's killed because he's a Jew. Why is he being killed? They killed him because he's an Arab. It's irrelevant what he knows, but it's just a reality. No, that's different. That's different. That's different. Because what he represents as a Jew, and the reason why he was taken is because he was killed because he was a Jew. But there's no question.
He knows it or not.
A person, whether he knows it or not.
He had no idea he was doing the mitzvah.
It's a different. He's not. It's a different type. He chooses to die al Kiddush Hashem. He has a choice to or not to. Right? Rabbi Kiva had a question. He taught Torah publicly. Right? He had a choice. If he wouldn't have taught Torah in the public setting, he wouldn't have been put to death. But since it was Shas Hashmad, because at a time where they want to uproot Judaism, you have to do it despite it's going to be at the cost of your life, and he did. That's why he was put to death. So he made a choice: do I? Don't I? It's irrelevant. My life, when it comes, this Chol Nafshecha. He gave his life, and he was killed as one of the 10 martyrs. To be continued. Okay.
If someone does chesed to somebody, someone does a mitzvah to somebody, for somebody, and has no idea he's doing a mitzvah, he doesn't get it.
Person does chesed.
Yeah.
That would be mitzvah saying shuvas kavana.
And he doesn't get
No, but if it's essentially kavana, the fact is, it has value. Even if you have kavana, it has greater value. If you have that, minimally, it has minimal. Right? Gemara says that if a person loses money and a poor man finds it, and a poor man's going to benefit from the money that you lost, you're not even aware anybody ever found it. You get some credit because somebody benefited from your asset. So you already just said about losing. If a person loses something, poor man finds it. So this Faraid explains by it says everything went into the ground. Even a needle. If a person had borrowed a needle from the people of the Karachi community, the ground was like on an incline. Everything it rolled into the ground. He says, why? Because if anybody is able to benefit from any of what Korach's community, they're going to be beneficiaries, Korach. God didn't want, and it's similar to the person losing the penny and a poor man having any benefit from it. That's the Sephorno rights over there. Sephorno. Okay. But he mentions it in that context. Okay. But in terms of Korach, why that had to happen?
Hashem didn't want anyone to benefit from Korach, or
no, because he didn't want Korach to be a beneficiary. Korach should not be a beneficiary. It's like Moshe Rabbeinu says, their share in the korban should not be accepted. Right? The korban tzibur.
So if Korach wants somebody, a needle.
Most of that needle fell out somehow.
So
that rolled. No, what he did in the past, he did. But after he's gone, nobody's going to benefit from what he did previously because Hashem doesn't want him to have any benefit. He should not. No benefit should accrue to him. But that was the son's choice. That was the son's choice.
He did get the benefit of that.
Okay.
Because the mitzvahs of the son do accrue to the father.
I'm not sure. In that context, I'm not sure. Not sure. Let's say the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, where's Moshe? He's not here. The Perek we don't know Chelik says, "Bnei Bonav shel Haman Rosha Lom in Torah b'Bnei Brak." Haman's grandchildren converted to Judaism, and they sit and study Torah b'Bnei Brak. You think Haman is a beneficiary of that Torah? Definitely not.
Different case.
Why is it different? No, but if you're saying no, it has not to do with relation. It has not to do with relationship. If you were going to follow the principle, they only exist because he fathered a child who ultimately was them. So he's the cause of their existence. Whether they're related or unrelated, what difference does it make? Has nothing. No, but I caused it to be. Factually, they would not exist unless he fathered his children. The answer is because this is like a person says, I want nothing to do with it. If a person says, I'm not interested in the mitzvah I did, I regret anything, he receives no reward, right? We had the Gemara in Kedushin before. So that's not because he's not interested. You can't force something upon a person who's not interested. Korach himself is not interested. What his children accepted Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was his arch enemy, right? I mean, the choice wasn't a simple choice. Because we're disgracing our father.
In actual fact, it does work.
Right.
But he has the
Exactly.
ability to nullify it.
Exactly.
So that's what you have to say.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Is that true by Abraham when he didn't take anything from the king?
No, there he didn't take. No, there the king had nothing to do with it.
No, but did he not take because he didn't want to?
No, he didn't. He said, because I don't want you should say you made me wealthy.
Because it would have been a full.
That would have been Chil Hashem. But if not for that, look how he's the victor. If he's the victor, it's his. It's rightfully his. Yeah, right. He was actually relinquishing what was rightfully his. Okay.